Part 18. Dimensional Chosen, Only I Know Saitama is the Strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 171. There were constant sounds of explosions in the dust, as well as the sound of flesh breaking. The patter of blood mixed with dust falling down, making people shudder. Gradually, the smoke and dust began to disperse, and everyone in pain began to see clearly. Where are people? Jiraiya looked around with his eyes widened, and after a while he found Fang Ye's figure. He saw Fang Ye standing next to a wall. The human path was penetrated deeply into the wall, and blood flowed along the wall. Come down. The way of the world is death. Really awesome. Jiraiya wiped a cold sweat. Unexpectedly, Pain Liudeo, who left him helpless and even brought him close to death several times, would kill 3 people in Fang Ye's hands in an instant. Superior. Tiandeo shouted coldly and led the beastly way to attack Fang Ye. The 2 of them were extremely fast and arrived in front of Fang Ye in an instant, entangled with him. Spiritualism. Zushandeo crossed his arms, and a rhino fell from the air. After standing still, he bumped into Fang Ye. The rhinoceros stepped on the ground, and every step made the ground vibrate. Trivial skills. Fang Ye was naturally not afraid. He opened and closed his hands widely and directly held the rhino's horns in his hands. He held his lower body firmly and exerted force on his waist, pulling the rhino's horns and spinning them. Suddenly, Fang Ye let go of his hands. The rhinoceros was like a huge cannonball hit Pain Tiandeo and Zhu Shengdao hard. Pain Tiandeo was extremely flexible and jumped to avoid the rhinoceros. At the same time, he also grabbed Zhu Shengdao's collar and took him with him. Flying out. Boom. The rhinoceros hit the wall hard, vomited a mouthful of blood, and then disappeared. Seeing this scene, Pain threw the beast high into the air. Spiritualism. Zhu Shengdao made a hand gesture with his hands, and then slapped it hard. Bang. Bang. There were 4 sounds in a row, and 4 figures appeared around Zhu Shengdao, and then fell next to Pain Tiandeo. Pain's 6 paths gathered together again. What happened? Fang Ye frowned, looking at the human path and the Azura path that seemed to be intact. Then, his eyes passed through the crowd and saw the Hell path standing at the end. Beside him, there was a huge ghost head. Hell King. Forgot to deal with you. Fang Ye moved his body and said behind him. Grandma Shima, can we do it again? Of course. Shima jumped high into the sky again, spraying endless wind and sand from his mouth. Immortal method wind escapes sand. The wind and sand in the sky once again enveloped everyone, cutting off everyone's sight. At the same time, Jiraiya also summoned the 3 top leaders of MT Mayaboku, Gamabunta, Gamaken, and Gamahiro. Wenta, go ahead. Fukazaku jumped from Jiraiya's shoulder to Bunta's head, and passed it into the smoke in the next second. Where is this? Zhu Shengdao felt that his eyes were extremely dark, as if his eyes were covered by someone. Bang. Fang Ye discovered Zhu Shengdao in front of him, and punched him out without warning. Boom. Zhu Shengdao was hit hard and flew out. His left shoulder was directly broken, and he spat out a big mouthful. Blood. Fang Ye naturally wouldn't let him fly backwards like this, and his figure instantly rioted. His figure instantly appeared behind Zhu Shengdao, and punched him again. Bang. There was another muffled sound, and Zhu Shendao's abdomen was punched out. There was a big hole, and the already broken body was even more in danger. Fang Ye was very decisive and punched again. Poof. Zhu Shendao's body was directly broken and turned into a bloody mess. Outside, the smoke and dust slowly dispersed. Pain and several others at the same time. I also noticed Gamabunta not far away. His figure was so tall that it was difficult not to attract other people's attention. What about animal ways? Pen Tiandeo found that he couldn't sense the animal path, and began to look around for the animal path. Vomit. Not far away, Gama Bunta couldn't stand the smell of blood in his mouth. He vomited out Fang Ye together with the bloody beast. Fang Ye jumped up and jumped out on Gama Bunta's tongue to avoid being stained with flesh and blood. Oh! Looking at the beast that had turned into a puddle, Pain Tiandeo raised his eyebrows slightly and looked at Fang Ye. Yes, maybe you can join Pain, but after you're dead. Pen looked at Fang Ye, his voice was cold, as if he was facing a readily available object. Do you value me so much? Then come and get it. Fang Ye waved his hand disdainfully. Pain Tiandeo's eyes were cold and he raised his left hand and pointed it at Fang Ye. All things are attracted by heaven. The next second, Fang Ye, who was standing firmly, was instantly attracted by an inexplicable gravity. Die. Pen Tiandeo murmured coldly, and stretched out a black metal rod from his right sleeve, piercing Fang Ye directly. Bang! Seeing the black rod piercing Fang Ye's body, what flowed out was not blood, but it was thick smoke. The next second, Fang Ye's body, which was pierced, turned into a little frog, lying on Pain Tiandeo's black stick. Lonely and widowed, the little frog called out to Pain Tiandeo, then jumped up and disappeared from everyone's eyes. A serious punch. With a loud shout, Fang Ye's figure appeared behind the pens at some unknown time. He raised his fist high and aimed it at the hell path standing behind the team. Bang! Fang Ye showed no mercy, punch out. Boom! With a loud bang, the whole body of Hell Dao seemed to explode, and the whole person turned into a puddle of flesh. Then, the face of the Hell King next to him began to look ferocious. The huge face keeps changing and finally disappears. When? Pain Tiandeo was a little shocked. When did Fang Ye appear behind them, and no one of their 5 pairs of eyes saw it? Pain Tiandeo's reincarnation eyes began to rotate, recalling what just happened. It turns out that under General Gamabun, when he spit it out, he first asked Jiraiya to use the shadow clone, and then turned the clone into Fang Ye's appearance. The real body blended into the smoke and dust floating in the sky from another angle, and then appeared behind the Hell Realm, striking in one fell swoop. Kill. As for that little frog, it was an accident. After beating the Hell Realm into a pulp, Fang Ye ejected directly into the crowd and showed off his skills. Although the human path is the strongest in close combat among Pain's 6 paths, it is still not enough in front of Fang Ye. After only 2 fights, human world Dao was completely suppressed by Fang Ye. The human world was struggling to hold on, and there was severe pain in the hands and feet. It was full of cracks and almost burst. This guy, it's really cruel. Jiraiya watched Fang Ye fight with several people without losing, and secretly smacked his lips. Pain Tiandeo, with the cooperation of everyone, attacked Fang Ye with black sticks several times. However, Fang Ye blocked them one by one. With one palm, the black stick was shattered into dregs. Immediately afterwards, Pain's eyes moved, and everyone else stopped in alarm. The next moment, they left the place instantly and dispersed in 4 directions. All things are attracted by heaven. Pen moved his fingers to restrain Fang Ye, and the next moment he opened his hands. Shinra Tianzheng. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 172. Pain Tiandeo first attracted Fang Ye to his side, and then launched the Shenluo Tianzheng. Boom! First there was a strange gravitational force, and then there was a repulsive force, which knocked Fang Ye away hard. Naturally, Pain Tiandeo's methods are not that simple. After fighting several times, he fell in love with Fang Ye's body. If he were made into Pen, he would be an extremely powerful fighter, more conducive to the implementation of their plans. Pain placed a row of black sticks in front of him and pointed them at Fang Ye. Then he also used Shinra Tianzheng to bounce it out, trying to penetrate Fang Ye's body with a black rod. Boom! Fang Ye didn't resist and allowed himself to be knocked far away by the repulsive force. Boom! Fang Ye's body collapsed several walls, stirring up thick smoke and dust. At the same time, several black sticks roared in. Armed and domineering. Fang Ye secretly activated his armed domineering energy and enveloped his whole body. Clang, the black rod hit Fang Ye's body, causing a stinging sensation. However, the black metal rod still failed to penetrate Fang Ye's armor. Immediately afterwards, Fang Ye stood up. The left and right punches alternated and kept blasting forward, blasting every black metal rod that came close to him into slag. After a while, a thick layer of black substance piled up under Fang Ye's feet. But if this is the case, it will be difficult to take my life. Fang Ye came out and ejaculated with his whole body. Now let you feel the pain. Fang Ye's figure quickly appeared in front of Pain Tiandao in an instant. Without hesitation, he punched Pain. Several black sticks protruded from Pain's sleeves and resisted Fang Ye's punch. Raging flames. Fang Ye shouted, and the hand blocked by the black rod instantly turned into flames and passed through the black rod. At the same time, a fierce flame sprayed towards Pain. Shinra Tianzheng. Pen used the trumpet Shenluo Tianzheng to block the flames. At the same time, Hungry Ghost Dao also appeared behind Fang Ye. He moved quickly and locked Fang Ye's arms in an instant. Fire escape. Pen murmured softly, and then commanded Hungry Ghost Dao to activate his skills. Hungry Ghost Dao tried to absorb Fang Ye's chakra, but how did he know that Fang Ye had no chakra at all? Hungry Ghost Dao sucked lonely. Being Hungry Ghost Road clamped down, but Fang Ye didn't panic, he used both arms hard. Poof! Hungry Ghost Road's arms were torn off. Then he turned around and punched. Boom! Hungry Ghost Road was knocked off his head and died immediately. Pei. So far, 5 of Enlu Dao have died. Now, only Pain Tiandao is left. Facing Fang Ye, who is like a god of murder, Pain no longer retains his strength. Shinra Tianzheng. The cooling time of Tiandao is about 5 seconds. After the cooling just now, Shinra Tianzheng is used again. Useless. Fang Ye stood on the spot, with his armed and domineering aura wrapped around his body, resisting the Shinra Tianzheng. Raging flames. Fang Ye's arm turned into flames again, and he punched hard, wrapped in flames. What? Pain Tiandao's face was ferocious as he watched his barrier begin to deform. Fang Ye's fist actually resisted his own Shinra Tensen. The next second, Pain suffered a reaction and was knocked out by his own Shinra Tensen. Pain Tiandao, their figures kept rolling on the ground and smashed several walls. The battlefield between the two came directly to the outskirts of Yuyan village. Do you feel my pain? Fang Ye snorted coldly, and shot again, chasing Pain Tiandao. My pain, above you. Pen's painting style changed suddenly, and he hit the ground with his fists with a ferocious face. All things are attracted by heaven. This punch directly penetrated the ground. In an instant, the ground was punched through by Pain's fist, and a large amount of underground water was sucked out by Pain's everything. The gush of countless underground water actually formed a lake. Pain ran quickly on the water, constantly dodging the flames fired by Fang Ye. Fang Ye kept firing explosive flames in the distance, like a raging flame, and fire bombs kept shooting out. Shinra Tianzheng. Pen was lying on the ground, stretching his hands forward. A transparent barrier appeared in front of him, resisting Fang Ye's flame bombs. The flames were spread by Shinra Tianzheng, hitting the water and igniting steam. Huh, is that it? After the fire bomb ended, Pain lay on the ground facing Fang Ye's direction, raising the corners of his mouth with disdain. Boom! In the water vapor, a huge fire bomb shot out. As it approached Pain, it split into countless small pieces. Fire bombs attacked Pain from all directions. Pain didn't expect that the slap in the face would come so quickly. The whole person was sent flying. Pain stabilized his body in the air, and kept firing lasers with both hands, hitting the rocks in front of him. Broken. All things are attracted by heaven. Pain's cooling was good again, attracting the huge rock to hit Fang Ye. The rock was like a hill, and it undoubtedly pressed Fang Ye underneath. That's it? Pen laughed again. Boom. There was an explosion under the hill-like rock. Boom. The second explosion sounded, and the entire rock was shattered by Fang Ye and jumped out. Mountain seal. When Fang Ye held up a huge piece with his left hand, the blazing flames burned it into a semi-melted state and smashed it directly towards Pain. Shinra Tianzheng. Pen propped up the barrier again, and the half-melted fiery red rock exploded on the barrier. Boom. Boom. The shattered rocks scattered and hit behind Pain, causing an explosion. Fang Ye's figure emerged from the smoke, punch after punch hit Pain. Pain waved his hands and barely resisted. After just a few blows, he couldn't hold on and was punched out by Fang Ye. Shinra Tianzheng. Pen's cooling is better again, repelling the surrounding water. Flame fist. Fang Ye's strength was fully activated, and this flaming punch actually penetrated the barrier directly. Fang Ye turned his fist into a palm and grabbed Pain's head. Zzz. Pain's hair was burned by the flames, exudes the stench of burning cuticles. What, this time it went directly through my Shinra Tenzin. The reaction from Shinra Tianzheng again made Pain look ferocious. He reacted very quickly, and two black metal rods appeared in his sleeves and swung Fang Ye's arm that was not in flames. Sonorous, the black rod and Fang Ye's arms collided, making the sound of steel clashing. But Fang Ye's fatal palm was indeed blocked and left Pain's head. See if you can avoid it next time. Fang Ye struck again. The flaming fist hit Pain's head directly. Pain decisively lifted the Shinra Tenzin. He did not support his body, and his whole body was knocked away by the reaction force of the Shinra Tenzin. With this force, Pain once again distanced himself from Fang Ye. Pain was moving very fast, but he seemed to have failed to control the force, and his whole body was stuck heavily in the rock. Looking at his embarrassed look, Fang Ye wanted to laugh. At the same time, he put his hand back to his waist, gathered his strength and punched hard. Bang! Pain stretched out his palm from the rock, clapped his hands together, and completed the seal. All things are attracted by heaven. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 173. Pain formed a seal with his hands, and a 5-star gravity appeared in his hands. Immediately afterwards, the force of gravity pulled a huge rock out of the earth. Some parts of the rock still shone with a cold light, as if they were a piece of metal ore. Pain's expression turned ferocious again. It was obvious that the weight of the ore was far greater than that of a rock of the same volume, which made it difficult for him. Not only Fang Ye, but also Jiraiya also chased him out at this time. After seeing the huge metal ore, his eyes began to become solemn. What a strong means! Jiraiya sighed secretly. But he didn't choose to step forward. If he were to bear such a large rock, there would be no doubt that he would be killed by this move. Moreover, his ninjutsu had no effect on this rock. If he uses the fire escape that he is better at, it will take a long time to melt it. He didn't dare to make a move rashly, for fear that the red-hot rock would fall and cause secondary damage to Fang Ye. Pain spread his hands and shook Fang Ye's position hard. The huge boulder flew towards Fang Ye without exception. The rocks fell directly from the sky with the sound of howling wind. Press on Fang Ye's head. Looking at the flying rocks, Fang Ye's eyes were equally solemn. He doesn't guarantee that he can destroy this rock with one blow. A serious punch. Fan Ye's right fist accumulated strength at his waist, and then he punched decisively. However, this time, the direction of Fan Ye's fist was not the hill-like rock, but the ground under his feet. Boom! Under Fan Ye's deliberate control of the punch, the ground under his feet was blasted into an extremely deep pit. Without hesitation, Fan Ye jumped directly. The next second, a huge stone hit Fan Ye's original position, causing waves to fill the sky. Mixed with rocks, it rushed towards the sky. The overwhelming momentum made Jiraiya even more nervous. He had no time to worry about Fan Ye, and rushed out. His target was Pain. Jiraiya chose to stay here. The purpose is to obtain information about Pain, or to kill him. So far, 5 of Pain's 6 paths have been destroyed by Fan Ye's fist. The rest is the Pain transformed by Yahiko and Tiendeo. Now it seems that Yahiko's abilities are the repulsive force known as the Shinra Tensei and the strange gravity. And his cooling time seems to be very fast. In the battle with the little guy just now, the repulsion and gravity were used many times. After my preliminary calculation, the fastest interval is 5 seconds. As Jiraiya said that, his own speed was extremely fast, chasing after Pain Tiendeo's leaving figure. What about that little guy? Fukazaku looked at the position where the rock fell with worried eyes, but there was still no movement. He started to worry about Fan Ye. Old man. Shima's voice was also a little low, and he looked behind him. Whether he can survive or not depends entirely on the good fortune of this little guy, but he has shown great strength before, so this blow may not be able to kill him. Jiraiya's eyes flashed, and he was also a little heartbroken. He responded to the two of them in a deep voice, "I hope so." Then he added, "Casualties in war are inevitable. I hope he can be favored by the goddess of luck." Jiraiya's voice was low, but the figure chasing Pain was getting faster and faster. This is a rare opportunity, related to the fate of Konoha Hidden Village, and even related to the entire ninja world. If he is troubled by the love between his children, then what will happen? Everything that karma has done before will be meaningless. Jiraiya is like a frog, constantly falling on the trees and jumping far away. Before his eyes, Pain Tiendeo appears in his sight, and is getting closer and closer. "Stop!" Jiraiya shouted, put his right hand behind his back, and quickly condensed a blue ball. Moreover, the size of the Raisnon rapidly expanded, and it instantly became the size of a house. "Teacher Jiraiya." Looking at Jiraiya's approaching figure, Pain Tiendeo was obviously much more relaxed. The ferocious painting style also returned to normal, and he looked at the approaching Jiraiya coldly. "Mr. Jiraiya, you have interfered too much in this matter, so I cannot keep you alive." Pain Tiendeo's voice was extremely cold, like a machine. The eyes he looked at Jiraiya were also extremely cold, completely disregarding the feelings between teachers and students. "Yahiko, what happened to you?" As for Nagato, is this what he meant? And Zionin, did she listen to both of you? What do you want to do? Jiraiya's voice was very urgent. He had many questions that he wanted to ask clearly. "Teacher Jiraiya, there is no need to ask these questions, they are all in your heart." I just adhere to the belief given by the teacher and have been till now." Pen didn't answer the question, and looked at Jiraiya standing in the distance. Jiraiya was stunned, not knowing what Pain was talking about. "My belief." Jiraiya frowned and began to think deeply. "It seems that you have forgotten your beliefs." Pen sighed, and the eyes he looked at Jiraiya became cold and stern, mixed with murderous intent. "However, we have inherited your will, so." As he spoke, Pain flicked his right hand, and a black metal rod appeared in his hand. "Let me finish you off." After saying that, Pain's figure rioted, leaving waves of after images on the spot. "Little Jiraiya, he's here." Fukazaku's eyes were sharp and he noticed pain approaching. "Bring it on!" Jiraiya shouted, clapped his hands, and held up a protective shield. Clang, the black rod in Pain's hand hit the protective shield, causing bursts of sparks. The next second, the protective shield was covered by the black metal rod breaking open. Pain rushed over. "So strong, little Jiraiya. You can't resist the black metal rod in his hand, you have to dodge it." Shima whispered in Jiraiya's ear, and at the same time made the secret in his hand. "That weird thing has the effect of chaotic chakra, and if it is pierced, it will instantly lose its combat effectiveness." Jiraiya took a deep look at Pain, who was about to arrive in front of him, his eyes serious. "No. Then let me, as a teacher, teach you students a lesson." Jiraiya moved his hands forward and back, and took a fighting stance. The next second, Pain's figure appeared in front of Jiraiya, and the black stick in his hand stabbed Jiraiya on the shoulder. "Toad thousand hands." Jiraiya's hand began to wave. This was the fighting technique he learned from Miyaboku Mountain. Clang. The black stick was approaching Jiraiya's hand, but it was slapped away with the palm. Whoa! With a wave of his sleeve, Pain's left hand did the same. A black stick appeared, attacking Jiraiya from left to right. Jiraiya's pressure increased suddenly. His hands kept alternating in front of him, blocking Pain's attack. Jiraiya tried his best to avoid direct contact with the black stick and avoid contact. What changes will happen next? At the same time, his palms began to seduce the natural power in his body, changing from passive to active, and began to attack. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 174. Pain's attacks are getting faster and faster, making Jiraiya unable to defend himself. "Jiraiya-sensei, you are old." Pain's eyes were cold, and the black stick in his hand kept thrusting out, killing him with every move. "Is it?" Jiraiya also sneered, and the eyes he looked at Pain gradually became serious. He fought with Fang Ye several times, but Pain was not weak. This situation is very strange. It seems that there is endless chakra energy behind him. It seems that Ku is supplying it to him. But on the contrary, Jiraiya's energy is not infinite. The natural chakra of the sage mode can be absorbed at any time. But at the moment he is fighting, and a single oversight may kill him. Jiraiya naturally, there is no time to adjust the breath, and the chakra in the body is decreasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. "Little Jiraiya, how long can you hold on?" Shima and Fukazaku stood on his shoulders, unable to interfere in the hand-to-hand fight between the two. "I don't know, but I guess it won't be long." Jiraiya was a little worried and conservatively told the two of them his situation. Their eyes became more solemn. They took a deep look at Pain Tiandeo, then turned their heads. "Damn it, how about we use that trick?" Shima understood instantly, but his expression became tangled, and he seemed a little reluctant. "I'm a lot older, and if you ask me to sing those disgusting lyrics, isn't it going to cost me my life?" "How long has it been? Why are you being pretentious? Moreover, aren't I the same age?" Fukazaku replied firmly, looking at her seriously. "There is no time to hesitate. You also know little Jiraiya's situation. If this continues, I'm afraid." "All right." Shima gritted his teeth, and then cleared his throat. Without hesitation, the two frogs began to sing a disgusting love song. Although it sounded very informal, this was a real illusion. The two frogs spoke very fast, and the casting process was very fast. It was almost finished, and then the chorus started, "Spell." Pain Tiandeo, who was fighting Jiraiya, felt dizzy when he heard this voice, so he decisively blocked his ears with chakra. Jiraiya listened to the two frogs singing a love song to each other, and the corners of his mouth curled up unconsciously. At the same time, the natural chakra in his hands is stronger, and his hands are waving faster. Boom. Jiraiya turned sideways to avoid Pain's black stick. At the same time, his right hand slapped Pain Tiandeo's right wrist hard, making a muffled sound. The black metal rod fell off Pain Tiandeo's hand, flew far away, and stuck on the ground. At the same time, Jiraiya's attack just now injected a small amount of chakra into Pain's tendo, dispersing the chakra covering his ears. Seeing this, Shima and Fukazaku's voices became louder, and hallucinogenic spells kept blurting out. These completely unintelligible characters inevitably entered Pain's ears. Hallucinogenic effects are inevitable. Pain Tiandeo's eyes began to rotate rapidly. This is a sign of an illusion. Jiraiya didn't dare to be careless. After all, the man in front of him was a man with the legendary Samsara Eye. Yellow Marsh. Jiraiya formed a seal with both hands. With the blessing of Sage Mode, the scope of the yellow spring swamp was wider and more powerful. A bubbling swamp appeared at Pain's feet, and half of his body was instantly trapped. And it was also keep sinking. Looking at the trapped Pain Tiandeo, Jiraiya made a stop gesture. "Second old man, please stop for a moment. I have something to ask him." "But..." Fukazaku stopped and said hesitantly. "Little Jiraiya, are you sure?" "No, but I do have something to ask him, and I feel like, after him, there are still people manipulating." "All right." Fukazaku stopped and waved his hand towards Shima. "Stop it, old woman, and let little Jiraiya ask you clearly and see if you can dig out the mastermind behind it." Shima nodded and stopped talking. Pain Tiandeo's erratic eyes gradually stopped. By the time he reacted, he was already deep in the quagmire. What a powerful illusion! Pen sighed in admiration and looked up at Jiraiya standing in front of him. "Yahiko, who is behind you?" "Resist Rice, God." Pen opened his mouth and spit out a title. "God." Jiraiya looked at Pain with doubtful eyes. This was the second time he heard this title from Pain. Could it be that the God I mentioned earlier was not you? Pen shook his head, with firm eyes, and said, "I am just a follower of God, but I can also be a representative of God." Representative of God. Jiraiya is even more confused. It is now confirmed that there is indeed a mastermind behind Yahiko. But the identity of the mastermind is a mystery now, but it is obvious that Yahiko will not reveal all about the person behind him. Jiraiya is very anxious. He even wanted to pry open Yahiko's skull to see who the god he was talking about was. "Jiraiya-sensei, are you finished with your questioning?" Pen in the quagmire suddenly asked. Jiraiya was stunned. He didn't expect that Pain would turn from passive to active and asked him the question. "When you have finished asking, you can die." Suddenly, Pain showed his murderous intent. He stretched out his hands from the mire and said slowly, "Shinra Tianzhang." With Pain Tiandeo as the center, the inexplicable repulsive force expanded instantly, destroying the vast swamp. The overwhelming swamp was pushed directly towards Jiraiya by the repulsive force. Jiraiya quickly parried, but his whole body he was still knocked away far away. Forgot this trick. Jiraiya struggled to stand up from the ruins and mire, with a painful expression on his face. It's noisy." Pen stretched out a hand. "All things are attracted by heaven." Jiraiya dug his feet into the soil, trying to resist the attraction of Pain's heavenly way. But unexpectedly, this move had no effect on him. Instead, Fukazaku standing on his shoulders was attracted stop and fly towards Pain Tiandeo's palm. The child's father. Fukazaku Senin. In the shocked eyes of Jiraiya and Shima, Fukazaku was pierced by the black rod in Pain's hand. Bright red blood fell from the tip of the black rod to the ground. "Its heart was pierced by me and it was dead," Pen said coldly, and threw Fukazaku out with a wave of his hand. "In this way, you won't be able to release that annoying illusion, right?" "Hateful." Jiraiya supported his body and shot towards Yahiko again. He regretted it very much. If he had just killed Pain directly. Fukazaku Senin will never die, right? Little Jiraiya, be careful. Shima yelled in Jiraiya's ear, because he saw the black stick in Pain's hand stabbing Jiraiya. Jiraiya was deeply regretful and obviously absent-minded. Jiraiya, who reacted, crossed his arms in front of him, trying to resist the blow. But how can the sharpness of the black rod be blocked by the physical body? Just when the black rod was about to pierce Jiraiya's body, a sudden change occurred. The soil beneath the two people's feet it shattered instantly, and a figure jumped out from it. Fang Ye was seen holding a huge rock in his hand, looking at Pain Tiandeo with cold eyes. Get out of here. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 175. Boom. The ground beneath my feet shattered, and a figure emerged from it. It's Fang Ye. I saw him holding a rock that was much larger than his size, knocking the two people who were about to collide away from each other. Is the little guy okay? Jiraiya looked at Fang Ye, who suddenly appeared with a somewhat relieved look in his eyes. Originally, he thought Fang Ye was dead, so he felt a little guilty. Seeing Fang Ye appear and lively, he felt better. Little guy, are you okay? Jiraiya asked loudly towards Fang Ye's figure. Fang Ye didn't speak, just shook his head, and then looked at Tiandeo Pain with cold eyes. Not dead yet. Pen Tiandeo was a little panicked when he looked at Fang Ye, who suddenly appeared. But then, he calmed down and looked at Fang Ye with cold eyes. Take your life. Fang Ye didn't answer his question, and threw the boulder in his hand violently at Pain Tiandeo. At the same time, he wrapped the boulder in flames. The flames were blown by the wind, and the red-hot boulder roared towards him. Facing the sudden blow, Pain Tiandeo jumped continuously. His figure was extremely flexible and he finally escaped the blow. How tenacious you are in life. Pen Tiandeo sighed, and then turned around. He was running away. Fang Ye naturally would not let him go and chased after him. Watching the two people leave, Jiraiya felt a deep sense of powerlessness in his heart. There is not much magic chakra left in the body. If he follows rashly, not only will he not be a threat to Pain Tiandeo, but he will probably hinder Fang Ye. The child's father. Shima sighed and jumped off Jiraiya's shoulders. She came to Fukazaku's body and he held him in his arms. Both hands kept pouring chakra into Fukazaku's body, but it had no effect at all. Fukazaku's body is now like a funnel. No matter how much chakra she injects, nothing will leak out. Jiraiya also walked over. He looked very guilty, and looked at Fukazaku's body with lowered eyebrows. Grandma Shima, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have summoned you here. He regretted it very much. This was originally my task, but I took it upon myself to involve the two elders in this turmoil. The two elders not only saved him from danger several times, but now one of them has even died. It's okay, maybe, this must be the fate of the child's father. Shima shook his head and hugged Fukazaku tighter. Do you need me to send you back to Mount Miyamu? Jiraiya asked very remorsefully. Need not. Shima shook his head again. Just like that. After saying that, her eyes became sharp and she looked into the distance, where Fang Ye and Pain Tiandeo left. I want to watch the little guy kill the enemy who killed the child's father, and then. Shima couldn't talk anymore and just held Fukazaku deeply in his arms. All right. Jiraiya walked up to the two of them and bowed deeply towards them. Then, he turned around resolutely and chased Fang Ye in the direction he left. Fang Ye chased Pain Tiandeo, and the two figures kept shuttling in the woods. Boom. Fang Ye was very anxious, he also saw the dead Shima. Now, he just wants to kill Pain quickly. Several explosions broke out in the woods. Fanya directly smashed the towering tree in front of him into pieces without slowing down at all. At this moment, his body has been wrapped in armed color, and nothing can stop him. Boom! Another towering tree was smashed into pieces. Sawdust is flying. Fanya ignored the wood chips all over his body and stared at Pain Tiandao's back. The speed of the two was extremely fast, and Pain seemed to be flying close to the ground. His feet would tap the ground from time to time, and he would fly far away. Looking at Fanya again, he looks very violent. Every time a foot stepped out, the stones or grass roots on the ground exploded, and the ground collapsed. Where to run? Pen didn't want Pain to avoid the trees. Fanya was like a bulldozer, pushing down all the trees in front of him. Seeing that the distance between the two was getting closer, Fanya put his right hand to his waist to gather strength. With a sliding step, Fanya's figure rushed forward again, and then a serious punch. Boom! Fanya's fist carries unparalleled momentum. Go straight to Pain's heavenly path and smash him to pieces. Feeling the threat of death, Pain Tiandao didn't even dare to look back and opened his hands directly. Shinra Tianzhang. An invisible barrier centered on him and quickly spread out into the distance. Fanya's fist style even condensed into a fist suit in the air. This punch was extremely powerful. The invisible barrier was forcibly deformed by Fanya, approaching Pain. Seeing the approaching fist wind, Pain panicked. He was really panicked, and the chakra was released faster, supporting the transformed Shinra Tenzen. Suddenly, Pain Tiandao flew backwards. He felt that he seemed unable to resist the fist. Therefore, most of the power of Shinra Tenzen was condensed in the place that was beaten and deformed. Boom! Due to the reaction force, Pain Tiandao flew backwards. At the same time, he stabilized his figure in the air, and kept shooting out light from his hands towards Fanya. Sonorous. Pain's attack hit Fanya, causing sparks to fly. What the hell? Could it be that this person is made of steel? Looking at Fanya rushing towards him, Pain panicked. The next second, Fanya appeared in front of Pain Tiandao again and punched out hard. Shinluo Tianzheng couldn't be released yet, so Pain had no choice but to use Xiaobao. Countless black rods stretched out from the middle and wrapped themselves up. Boom! Under Fanya's fist, cracks appeared in the protective shield formed by the black metal rods, and the entire protective shield was instantly covered. Click! Accompanied by a heart-wrenching sound, there was a shattering sound, and the protective shield was also shattered. But this also bought enough time for Pain Tiandao. Shinra Tianzhang. Pen did not hesitate, for fear that if he released it too late, his life would be over. With that repulsive force again, Fanya's fist was blocked. Although the protective shield composed of black rods was shattered, it still consumed a lot of energy. Less momentum. Fanya's whole body was inevitably knocked away. Pain threw his hands and threw two black sticks towards Fanya, pointing at Fanya's two lifebloods respectively. As expected, the two black sticks hit Fanya. There was a crisp sound on the body. Not only was there a faint crack on the tip of the black stick, but there was no trace left on Fanya's body. Fanya stood up and stared at Pain Tiandao. He bent down and picked it up from the ground. The two black sticks then made an action that stunned him. Fanya held the black stick in both hands and stabbed it hard towards his chest. Clang! The black stick splashed sparks on Fanya's strong chest. It's not over yet. Fanya continued to exert force, and the black rod actually broke. Fanya clapped his hands, shook off the black shavings from his palms, raised his eyebrows slightly, and looked at Pain Tiandao mockingly. Killing and killing the heart. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Bean Garden. Chapter 176. Originally, Pain Tiandeo thought it was just Fang Ye's fist that was stronger. But seeing that the black metal rod did not cause any substantial damage to Fang Ye's chest or even his throat, Pain was very surprised. "It seems, I underestimated you again." After saying that, Pain's figure flew out again. He started running for his life again. Fang Ye felt Jiraiya behind him chasing him. So he slowed down a little. "Little guy, where is Yahiko?" Jiraiya caught up with Fang Ye and asked curiously. At the same time, he looked Fang Ye up and down to confirm that the other party was not injured on Yahiko's hand. Then he breathed a long sigh of relief. Fang Ye pointed in the direction, that is Pain's escape direction. Just in that direction. Jiraiya's eyes shot out, and he felt the chakra around him at the same time. In Sage mode, it can even be said to connect the world, and nothing around him can escape his induction. Really? Jiraiya stared in one direction. In the distance, Pain's figure kept driving through the jungle. But no matter how fast he was, he couldn't escape Jiraiya's senses. "You take a rest and I'll chase him." Jiraiya looked at Fang Ye. He wanted to kill Pain. Until now, he still doesn't understand Pain comprehensively. If he lets the tiger go back to the mountain, it is very likely to cause chaos in the future. Need not. Fang Ye shook his head and stopped Jiraiya. "I think there are people behind him." Fang Ye's words were astonishing. Jiraiya glanced at him in surprise. He didn't expect that this powerful little guy would be equally thoughtful. He nodded and told Fang Ye his guess. "And he told Pain Tiandeo I told Fang Ye truthfully what I said to him before." "God." Fang Ye frowned, and a red-haired, thin image gradually emerged in his mind. "Nagato." Yes, this is the person behind Pain's 6 paths. How could Fang Ye forget? This is the benefit of knowing the plot. At the same time, Fang Ye considered in his mind. If Nagato is released, the 6 paths of pain will definitely come back in the future. Because although making the 6 paths of pain is not an easy task for Nagato, it is not completely impossible. As long as he recovers some chakra, all he needs to make Pain's 6 paths is 6 corpses. Similarly, after killing all Pain's 6 paths, it is likely to arouse the anger in Nagato's heart and remind him of those painful things. The revenge against Konoha Hidden Village will definitely be more intense in the future. Although this has nothing to do with Fang Ye, it is a hidden time bomb for Konoha Hidden Village. It may explode at any time. Fang Ye nodded. Looked at Jiraiya. "Why don't we follow him? Maybe we can find the person behind him." Fang Ye paused, and then continued. Judging from his words, the person behind them played a leadership role among them. Yahiko was injured and escaped, so he had no choice but to find his master. Going anywhere else was meaningless. Jiraiya nodded and looked at Fang Ye. "Makes sense. Jiraiya-sensei, please sense his location. Once he disappears, we will attack immediately." "Okay." Jiraiya nodded again, then clasped his hands together, and began to sense the position of Pain Tiandeo. Pain Tiandeo circled in the jungle for a long time. At the same time, he released the 10,000 elements of heaven countless times, blocking the road behind him. Trying to Fang Ye and his 2 men caused some trouble. However, Fang Ye and his 2 men did not pursue them at all. After walking around the forest for a long time, Pain stood still. After confirming that no one was catching up, Pain's figure moved again. This time, he wasn't wandering around the forest aimlessly. Instead, it flew towards an ordinary tree in the forest with a very clear purpose. When he came to the tree, Pain Tiandeo stretched out his hand and touched the tree. Then, he got into the trees. After entering, the view suddenly becomes clear. It was pitch black at first, and then the surrounding torches lit up. In front of him, 2 people suddenly appeared. A thin man with red hair stood in the middle. His hands were inserted into a strange-looking device, and his back was filled with black rods. Zionan stood on the other side, like a servant. I know it all. Nagato looked at Pain Tiendeo, who didn't say anything and nodded slowly. Do you need me to stop them? Zionan said from the side, and countless pieces of paper condensed into the shape of wings appeared on his back. Need not. Shaking his head, Nagato said weakly. You can't defeat them, just wait until I recover a little, make a few more pain, and then directly destroy the Leaf Village. Then, he coughed violently. Seeing this, Zionan quickly patted Nagato's back gently. Call. Nagato breathed a long sigh of relief and finally recovered from his violent coughing. Bring it up. Seeing Nagato waving his hand, Zionan grabbed 6 corpses from behind the devices. If Fangye was present, he would definitely be able to recognize these people. Because these people invited Fangye to join the team at the gate of the forbidden area. Those people. At this moment, several people are lying on the ground, covered in blood. Their bodies are covered with black rods used to absorb chakra. As long as Nagato injects chakra into their bodies, it won't take long for them to become another pair of Pain 6 paths. Yahiko looked at the 6 people on the ground. Obviously, Nagato was ready for Yahiko's death. But he didn't say much, because he was just a puppet. Then, Yahiko start telling your story. In addition to Jiraiya-sensei, there is a man I have never seen before, he is very powerful. Pen's eyes were full of fear. That man's body is very strong. No matter what kind of attacks I use, I can't break through his defense. Moreover, he is also very powerful and has tried to break through my Shinra Tensei several times. Nagato shook his head and interrupted Yahiko's words. The strongest person in Konoha Hidden Village is Metkai. Even he can't defend against my attack. I guess that person must have used some means. Suddenly, Nagato's eyes turned cold. Even if his defense is very strong, I don't believe he can withstand the attack of the heretic golem. Besides, we can also seal him, and there are many ways to deal with him. Heretic golem. Conan's eyes were shocked, and she looked at Nagato. You can't use that trick again, otherwise, you will die. Zionan. Yahiko interrupted Conan. Don't interrupt God, or else, don't blame me for being rude. Yahiko's eyes were very cold, and he looked at Zionan with murderous intent. Suddenly, the pieces of paper on Zionan's body flew around, constantly attached to the inner walls of the trees. She stared in one direction, her eyes full of worry. Somebody is coming. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 177. Are you sure this is here? Fangye looked at the big tree in front of him, which was the same as the surrounding forest. Jiraiya nodded, and then explained. It's this position. I just sensed that Yahiko disappeared within this range. It's just that. Jiraiya looked around, seeing nothing but trees. As for traces such as footprints, they have been removed. Is it underground? Jiraiya closed his eyes and began to feel the chakra around him. After a long time, he opened his eyes and sighed. There isn't one underground either. I can't find it at all, it's really weird, where can I go? Fangye did not answer directly, but looked at the surrounding trees attentively. Jiraiya-sensei, do you think they are inside the tree? Fangye asked knowingly. As a time traveler, he was already familiar with the plot of Naruto. If he directly found the hiding place of Pain Tiendeo, it would be a bit too abrupt. After listening to Fangye's words, Jiraiya shook his head first. Shake head. Suddenly, he looked at Fangye in shock. Maybe Pain has abilities that we don't know about, maybe they're hidden in these trees. But then he got a little frustrated. There are so many trees. If we were to find them one by one, I don't know how long it would take. It won't take long, Fangye smiled slightly. He waved his hand and signaled Jiraiya to step back. When he saw Jiraiya withdrawing from safety and returning to maintenance, Fang Ye turned his head. Huh! Fang Ye took a deep breath, and then raised his breath. The next second, Fang Ye's feet kicked hard on the ground. Boom! A big hole was stepped on the ground. Fang Ye's whole body shot up into the sky. Then, his whole body hung upside down in the air, and his right hand was brought to his waist and began to accumulate strength. A serious punch. Boom! Fang Ye's figure turned into a ray of light and hit the ground heavily. The ground was cracked by the impact, and there were ferocious cracks and ravines. Terrifying cracks continued to open, visible to the naked eye, and countless trees began to sink. And, with Fang Ye as the center, all the trees began to gradually crack. Then they turned into sawdust one after another, kept flying in the air burst caused by the fist wind, and were swept up into the sky. Jiraiya looked at the terrifying scene in front of him and couldn't help but open his mouth. What a terrifying power! Even though I have seen it countless times, it is still so shocking. As the smoke dissipated, their eyes focused on a tree at the same time. Fang Ye's serious punch just now almost leveled half of the forest to the ground. But as the smoke dispersed, the two discovered that there was still a tree standing. And it's extremely straight. Now, as long as the two people's IQs are online, they can definitely see that there is something wrong. That's him. Fang Ye patted the dust on his body and walked over first. The two came to the tree. Ray's non began to condense in Jiraiya's hand. He wanted to destroy the tree and the people inside it. Don't be anxious, Jiraiya-sensei, let me explore the truth first. Fang Ye waved his hand, and then pressed his hands on the tree. The tree was far stronger than he imagined. It is precisely because of this that it could withstand the residual power of Fang Ye's serious punch. But it is not difficult. Ruining Fang Ye. Drink. With a low shout, Fang Ye's hands were wrapped in armed domineering energy. At the same time, with his hands hard, his 10 fingers penetrated deeply into the tree's surface, and cracks began to appear on it. Fang Ye used both arms to pull hard to both sides. Tear apart. A terrifying crack was torn open in the tree's skin. Then, the scene inside came into view of the two of them. I saw a faint firelight shining inside, which looked very mysterious. And there are many pieces of paper appearing in the cracked places of the trees, which are healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Walk! Fang Ye shouted low and stepped in. Jiraiya also followed, and the two of them appeared inside the tree. Fang Ye thought, and a fire appeared in his hand, illuminating the surrounding area. Teacher Jiraiya, long time no see. From the deep place, a familiar voice came out. Nagato. It's you. Jiraiya's eyes were shocked, and he looked at the thin man in front of him. Seeing the two people coming in, Nagato didn't panic at all. He looked at the two people with a smile, his eyes were calm and calm. Jiraiya's eyes looked to Nagato's side. The two people are Yahiko and Konan. Unexpectedly, the four of us master and apprentice would meet in this way. Jiraiya smiled bitterly and shook his head, looking at the three people with increasingly sad eyes. What's wrong with meeting in this way? Nagato still smiled, but his voice was extremely weak. Nagato, what happened to you? Jiraiya looked at Nagato standing in the middle unwillingly and asked without giving up. Jiraiya-sensei, it's too late to ask these questions now. Nagato shook his head, but still waved his hand towards Xionan beside him. Xionan nodded knowingly, and then countless pieces of paper flew out from behind. Fang Ye looked at the flying pieces of paper and did not feel any danger from it. Under the gaze of everyone, Xionan manipulated the pieces of paper and gradually transformed into a scene. Look at it, this is what we experienced, what we suffered, pain. Nagato stopped talking, and also turned his attention to the stage that Konan created using pieces of paper. On the stage, the first thing that appeared was Nagato's figure. This is, the Third Ninja War. Jiraiya recognized this scene, his eyes twinkling. During the Third Ninja War, he, Orochimaru, and Tsunade came to the Hidden Rain village and started a battle with Sancho Hanzo. At the same time, the people of Konoha village ninjas also invaded a Megakure village. The scene changed from a battlefield to a small house. Inside, Nagato's family was hungry and about to go out to find food. Suddenly, two figures rolled in from the window. Judging from their costumes, it was the ninjas of Konoha Hidden Village. Suddenly, Nagato's parents were entangled with two ninjas on the stage, and they were still posing at the same time, seemingly asking Nagato to run quickly. As a result, the two were not there at all. How long did the ninjas of Konoha Hidden Village hold on before they pierced their bodies with kunai? The young Nagato watched his biological parents being killed by the ninjas of Konoha Hidden Village. Then, the scene began to dissipate, the pieces of paper flew again. Jiraiya's eyes were a little tangled. Of course he knew these things. But after that, he took in Nagato, Yahiko, and Konan. After many days of teaching, Jiraiya, I thought I had brought Nagato out of these painful memories. But I didn't expect that seeing his parents being killed with his own eyes would become a lingering shadow for Nagato's life. Teacher Jiraiya, watching his parents being killed with his own eyes, this kind of pain, have you experienced it? Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 178. Nagato's eyes gradually turned gloomy, and he looked at the two people with an expression of disgust. Jiraiya sighed, not knowing what to say. Continue. Nagato waved his hand. The next moment, under the control of Konan, the flying pieces of paper once again showed a new scene. It was a rainy night. Led by Yahiko, Nagato and Konan stood behind him. Looking at the picture of the two of them gradually emerged in Fang Ye's mind. This plot was relatively familiar to Fang Ye. In the original plot, this experience was the most important to the change in Nagato's mentality. Seeing the ups and downs of the world, life, and death. Yahiko wanted to change the world. Therefore, he established the previous organization, hoping to resolve all disputes in the world without using force. This dream was so beautiful that not long after they were established, they got the recognition of Sanyo Hanzo. On a rainy night, they met in an inaccessible place. Who would have thought that when they arrived, they would see the ambush of Sanyo Hanzo and Danzo? The war-torn Megakure in the past village, actually joined forces with the Hidden Leaf village to deal with them. The three of them were panicked for a moment, and they didn't know how to deal with the current situation. Sancho Hanzo and Danzo were working together. One wanted to stabilize his rule, one of them wanted to become Hokage. Sancho Hanzo was worthy of being called a demigod man, and he controlled Konan among the three in an instant. Sancho Hanzo lifted Konan in the air with one hand and looked at him coldly. They. On the stage, Sancho Hanzo punched Konan twice in the abdomen, and at the same time threw a kunai towards the two of them. Snap! The sharp kunai fell to the ground, and half of the blade was inserted into it. This man wants me to trade Yahiko's life for Konan's. Nagato looked at the sadness in front of him and explained aloud. On the stage, Yahiko turned around and looked at Nagato with firm eyes. Although there was no sound, the two of them could still tell. Yahiko wanted Nagato to kill him in exchange for Konan's life. Facing the sudden change, Nagato was stunned. Nagato, who was made of paper, staggered over and picked up the kunai on the ground. Suddenly, Yahiko rushed over. Poof! He had a kunai pierced through his body, and it was all his choice. Faced with such a sudden change, Nagato was stunned. Suddenly, the stage reversed again. Sancho Hanzo seized this opportunity and ordered his men to attack Nagato. Countless kunai were shot at Nagato, trying to kill him directly. I saw him gently stretching out his hand and raising it in front of him. Then, the roaring Konao was blocked 1 foot away from him. The next second, Nagato jumped to Konan. Hanzo quickly retreated, and at the same time, the ambush detonating talisman instantly wrapped Nagato's feet. Boom! There was a small explosion on the stage. What Jiraiya saw was shocking. In fact, he had heard about this experience of the 3 people. Therefore, he thought that the 3 people had been killed. Now this scene appeared before his eyes, watching his 3 apprentices being plotted against. Jiraiya couldn't help but feel heartache. On the stage, the explosion simulated by Konan gradually dissipated, revealing Nagato with a broken body. The detonating talisman seemed to have seriously injured him, but he still stood there, protecting Xionin behind him. Danzo waved his hand in the shadow, and all the Konoha ninjas jumped out. Maybe they saw Nagato's Rinnegan, so they thought the real leader was Nagato. They wanted to kill the 3 of them on the spot. Facing the overwhelming offensive, Nagato was heartbroken. Suddenly, on the stage, Nagato's hands kept forming seals, and finally they were pressed to the ground. The ground cracked open, and a huge psychic beast crawled out of it. Heretic Golem. Jiraiya looked at the familiar yet unfamiliar psychic beast, and relevant information emerged in his mind. The heretic demon roared silently, and shot a huge black rod from its body. The target of the black metal rod was none other than Nagato. The black metal rod pierced Nagato's body and began to absorb his chakra. The next second, Nagato became weaker at a speed visible to the naked eye. At the same time, his hands continued to form seals. The heretic demon grew up, the mouth seemed to be roaring. Then, a purple chakra dragon flew out from its mouth, roaring and rushing towards everyone. Those Konoha ninjas had their souls extracted in an instant, and fell to the ground one by one. In an instant, Nagato cleared the battlefield. After killing everyone, the gradually solidified chakra dragon came to Hanzo. On the other side, Nagato, who had absorbed the chakra, roared. Then, the chakra dragon looked like it seemed to have telepathy, and its mouth also grew. It flew into the sky, and then crashed into the position where Sancho Hanzo was. Boom! The stage made of paper instantly shattered. The sharp konao was on the forehead protector. It left a deep mark and became the last scene on the stage. Then, the paper flew and the picture disappeared. Yahiko died and I became the leader of the organization. After Nagato saw Konan showing everything in front of the 2 of them, he spoke weakly. But I have grown up, why haven't I protected them? Nagato's voice was a little confused, and he seemed to blame himself. Then, he looked at the 2 of them, his tone became firm, and he said, "As long as people exist, hatred will exist. There is no real peace in this cursed world." Nagato looked at Jiraiya, who looked troubled, and continued. "Mr. Jiraiya, you said that fictional peace is vulnerable to reality." Nagato. Jiraiya gritted his teeth. He didn't expect so much to happen to Nagato. When he was young, he witnessed his parents die in front of him. My best friend died in my own hands again. This kind of huge pain is a pain that is difficult to heal in a lifetime for anyone. Suddenly, I don't know when, Yahiko appeared behind the 2 of them, dragging a peaceful-looking black ball in his hand. In an instant, he launched the Shenluo Tianzheng and hit the black ball on Fang Ye. Ha! That weird gravity wrapped countless stones and hit Fang Ye. Then, Fang Ye couldn't break free and was wrapped in stones and flew into the sky with a black ball. Earth explodes and stars explode. Jiraiya's eyes were shocked, and he looked at Nagato in shock. Unexpectedly, Nagato turned out to be calm. "Nagato, what are you doing?" Jiraiya asked sternly. What he got was a calm reply from Nagato. "Teacher Jiraiya, I want to hear it. After seeing everything that happened to me, do you still believe in your illusory peace?" Nagato's voice was weak but aggressive. "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 179. Hateful. Fangye kept struggling in the stone ball, using his fists to smash the rocks flying in front of him. But the more he did this, the more and more stones came in. Brat. Jiraiya was impatient and wanted to rescue Fangye. However, Konan and Yahiko were not freeloaders. The two stopped in front of Jiraiya in an instant. Now, Nagato is the leader of the organization. The two of them are facing each other. Everyone looked at the door. The leader didn't say anything. It was impossible for them to let Jiraiya pass. Jiraiya-sensei, don't worry, he won't die. Jiraiya raised his head and looked at the increasingly larger stone ball that was wrapped in it. The stone ball flew high into the sky, even blocking the sun. Boom! There was a loud noise from inside the stone ball, and stone chips kept falling. Fall. It doesn't look like he can be held captive for long. Nagato sighed and raised his right hand high. Another piece of stone wrapped it away, and the size of the stone ball became larger and larger. Don't worry. Nagato looked at Jiraiya and said softly. Whether he can survive may depend on your response, Jiraiya-sensei. The stone ball was still shaking, but Jiraiya no longer paid attention. Yahiko and Konan stopped in front of him. Plus Nagato, if they wanted to, Jiraiya couldn't guarantee to save his life in their hands. Nagato, do you remember what you said to me before? What did I say? Nagato was stunned and shook his head randomly. After experiencing countless pains, I have grown up, and the trivial matters of the past have been left behind like smoke in the past. Jiraiya listened to his reply without saying a word. He silently took out a book from his pocket and opened it to himself. This is my first book, the biography of perseverance and endurance. Jiraiya was flipping through the book, but his words had nothing to do with the content of the novel. Maybe you are right, I also have people I can't forget, and hatred engraved in my bones that I can't forget. Then let's end it. Nagato was like a child who had spied on other people's secrets, proud and arrogant. Jiraiya shook his head and said slowly. Nagato, you also know that peace is a belief that I have always adhered to. Since it is my belief, how can I give up just because I just want to? Do not make jokes. Nagato held his hand for a moment, and his face became ferocious. Until now, how can you let me believe in your peace? How do you ask me to find that ridiculous peace in this world full of curses? He asked in a loud voice, speaking out Nagato's philosophy. In this case, that's why I choose you to lift this curse. If there is peace, then I will hold it tightly. I won't give up. Jiraiya said it calmly and calmly. Nagato's eyes widened when he heard this. That is, your words. That's right, it's a line from this book. Jiraiya said, turning the book to the last page. What was on it was not the content of the novel, but a monologue. This novel was the inspiration you gave me, and that passage was exactly what you told me yourself. Nagato's eyes were shocked, and the scenes from the past came to mind. The 3 years they spent with Jiraiya were the happiest 3 years for him. During these 3 years, he felt a sense of family in Jiraiya that he had not felt for a long time. The taste. It was precisely because of this that he firmly believed in Jiraiya's words during that time. Rather than leading the world with pain, I hope you can use the power to overcome pain to do other things. Looking at the troubled Nagato, Jiraiya said firmly. Teacher Jiraiya. Nagato lowered his eyebrows and was very confused. Finally, he sighed, looked at Jiraiya, and said seriously. I was wrong, teacher. Jiraiya smiled, his eyes full of love for his students. When I traveled around the world, I heard an old saying in the Far East, which is that if you know your mistakes, you can correct them, and there is no greater good. Knowing mistakes can correct them, there is no such thing as kindness. Teacher, I understand. Nagato stood up with his weak body, and Konan on the side immediately supported him. Nagato waved his hand, and then bowed deeply to Jiraiya. Then, he made a seal with his hands, one word said in one sentence. The natural art of reincarnation. Nagato. Konan yelled and looked at Nagato in disbelief. If you use this technique, you will die. Nagato shook his head and stopped Konan, who wanted to stop him. I've always been wrong, thank you, Mr. Jiraiya, for teaching me the last lesson. I learned a lot from this lesson, and I will continue to implement your beliefs. With that said, the ninjutsu was activated. In the empty forest, a huge figure appeared. It was the King of Hell. But this time the King of Hell was much larger than the one summoned from the Hell realm. It was the complete King of Hell. Roar! The Hell King opened his big mouth and sprayed out countless green rays of light. At this time, Toad Temperate Zone was watching the live broadcast with the Great Toad Immortal of Mount Miamu using a crystal ball. Perhaps, precisely because of Jiraiya's determination, the outcome has already been determined. After saying that, the picture on the crystal ball began to change, and a huge stone ball appeared in front of the two toads. This young man. The Great Toad Immortal smiled, shook his head again, and said nothing. Countless green lights flew out of Hell King's mouth, and the art of reincarnation continued to be performed. During the battle, those who died from accidental injuries in Yuyan village were resurrected. More and more ninjas were resurrected, and even Fukazaku, who was lying in Shima's arms, opened his eyes. Damn it, kid, where is this? Ah! Seeing Fukazaku suddenly pretending to be a corpse, Shima panicked. In panic, she slapped Fukazaku on the face, and Fukazaku, who was already weak, passed out again. In the barrier that Konan cast, Nagato's hair also turned grey as the spell was cast. War, it's just a vent of pain and hatred, and what you get after venting is even greater pain. He slowly summed up his life. Mr. Jiraiya, I'm sorry, I failed to live up to your expectations. Next, it's up to you and Naruto. Nagato said the name he had known for a long time. Naruto is also the name of the protagonist in The Legend of Endurance. Konan wrapped the bodies of Nagato and Yahiko with paper. Zionin, where are you going next? Jiraiya, who has experienced all this, is also extremely tired. I definitely can't go to the Akatsuki organization. I don't know where I'm going next. After saying that, Konan also bowed to Jiraiya, and then walked away with their bodies. Jiraiya sighed and looked at the boulder in the sky. Without the support of Nagato, the boulder is gradually breaking into pieces. But strangely, there seemed to be no struggle inside. Earthburst Tianxin was at his weakest at this moment, and he probably couldn't even withstand Fang Ye's punch. And Jiraiya, as if he already knew all this, slowly smiled as he looked at the boulder. Goodbye, little one. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 180. Solved. Tsunade stood at the entrance of Konoha village, welcoming the triumphant Jiraiya. Seeing Tsunade, Jiraiya walked over with a smile and sighed. Unexpectedly, I lost the bet again. Tsunade shook her head helplessly, but there was no trace of frustration at losing the bet on her face. Jiraiya was also very lucky. He originally thought this was a fatal game, but he didn't expect that he could come back intact. At the same time, Fang Ye was quite tired. He stood in that familiar pure white space, waiting for the reward from the number 5 Forbidden Land. Rewards for Forbidden Land number 5 are being calculated. Congratulations, you performed extremely well in Forbidden Land number 5. You completed the ultimate task in only 412 minutes and received the highest rating. You have obtained 251 points of freely allocated attributes. You get a special reward, Byakugan, can evolve into the Tensagan. As the prompts from the pure white alien space gradually dissipated, Fanye's eyes began to change. His eyes were shrouded in a white light, and there was also a light shining between his eyebrows. As time went by, the white light gradually dissipated. The next moment, Fanye felt some changes in his body. A ray of light shot out from his eyes. His two eyes became extremely bright. Fanye concentrated, and his sight was far away. To what extent? At the same time, a detailed information also appeared in his mind. It was an introduction to Byakugan. Byakugan, one of the three major pupil techniques in the world of Naruto, a descendant of Hamura Atsutsuki, the exclusive blood inheritance limit of the Hyuga clan. Next is about the abilities of the Byakugan. Telescopic eye, clairvoyant eye, insight eye, etc. Moreover, the Byakugan obtained by Fanye can evolve into the highest level of reincarnated eye on its own. The evolution speed of the Byakugan is absolutely related to the user's mental power. The higher the mental power, the higher the level of Byakugan. After reading the information in his mind in detail, Fanye then allocated the 251 free attributes as usual, allocating them to mental power. The next moment, Fanye clearly felt that his vision seemed to be clearer. Not even the slightest movement can escape his eyes. He can even see the trajectory of the wind. Fanye gently raised his hand and thought. The flames instantly enveloped the entire arm. Then, he raised his other hand and put it in front of him as well. The next second, both hands turned into flames at the same time. Fanye thought and punched forward. Boom! The space in front was instantly enveloped in flames. Even Fanye can feel the terrifying temperature. Immediately afterwards, he kept shooting forward with both hands, and the flame missiles attacked into the distance, causing a huge explosion. Boom! Unexpectedly, Li Ion's ability has improved so obviously. Feeling the improvement of Li Ion's ability, Fanye was very excited. He began to look forward to the ultimate extreme of Li Ion's ability, which could reach the temperature of the sun. After testing the strength, Fanye had another thought. The attribute panel appeared in front of him. Name, Fanye. Race, human. Physique, 3402. Spirit, 1421. Strength, 3298. Agility, 3126. Bloodline, Saitama. Physique, awakened. Super talent, flame. Skills, demon god comes to the world, can be upgraded, overlord color haki, armed color haki, wisdom color haki, white eyes. Fanye's mental power has gradually approached 1005, which is already considered a very outstanding existence in the human field. Both fists can turn into flames at the same time. If placed in the world of Naruto just now, maybe Fanye can break Pain Tiendeo's Shinra Tenzen with just his fists. After testing all his skills, Fanye chose to withdraw from the alien space. He walked out of the dimensional exit on the left. The exit of Forbidden Land number 5 was still full of people. Because in the end, Nagato used the art of reincarnation and everyone was resurrected. Except for some people whose bodies were not saved, the rest basically walked out of the dungeon. On this trip to the Forbidden Land, the survival rate was even higher than 90%. For example, the people who invited Fanye to join the team were also resurrected. When they opened their eyes, they were already in a pure white alien space. Since no tasks were completed, although they formed a team, they still returned without success. How abominable! The leader punched the seat in the rest area. The pain made him grin. At the same time, his actions attracted the attention of the soldiers. I was joking, I was wrong. He quickly apologized to the soldiers and was not arrested for provoking trouble. At the same time, there were many people pacing back and forth at the entrance to the forbidden area. They also went in as a team. As for what happened in the forbidden area, they couldn't remember clearly. I just remember that not long after I chose Yuyan village, I was shocked to death by a terrifying fist wind. When he woke up again, he was already in another dimension. They were surprised to be resurrected from the dead, but thankful to have survived. But the teammates who went to the forbidden area with them are still missing. Could it be that he is dead? They were not sure and could only wait at the exit. They were looking forward to seeing familiar figures from inside. Sudden. There was an exclamation from the crowd. Someone came out. Is this it? What happened? Another golden legend? This is too scary. Gold? Isn't the highest rating red? What grade is gold? You don't even know this? Gold is the highest level of evaluation. Who is this boss? Damn it, no one can stop me, I want to hug my thigh. Not only the crowd, but also the soldiers started to commotion. Their thoughts on maintaining order were suddenly distracted, and they all paid attention to the location of the exit of the forbidden area. They wanted to see who this place was that was rated as a golden legend. The forbidden area, a figure gradually appeared at the door. The crowd became commotion again and surrounded the exit. Spread out, spread out. The soldiers began to maintain order and disperse the crowd. At the same time, they stood where they originally stood. Fang Ye walked out of the forbidden area without stopping at all. The explosive speed was like a phantom and disappeared directly into the crowd. What the hell, it just went by in a flash. Where are people? Do you see clearly? No, I just saw a dark shadow that disappeared instantly. Go out and have a look. The crowd rioted again and rushed out. They wanted to see the true face of this golden legendary boss. The soldiers looked at each other bitterly. After this group of people walked out, I couldn't control them. But they have to stay here to maintain order. I also really want to see what this golden legendary boss looks like. Me too, by the way, should I report this matter to the superior? After all, golden reviews are so rare. That makes sense. Please report it to the boss quickly.